Hello, I'm ABX Toycat and welcome back to a second channel video. Today I'm going to be going really in depth into London, honestly to a point where most of you are going to be confused and be like, why is he going into this much depth about something I don't really care about? But that's the point of today's video because it is to back up a claim I probably make on stream quite a bit. So as a lot of you probably know, I bought a house somewhat recently and I decided to buy it outside of London. This is despite the fact that I'm always claiming that London is the best and it's the best city in the world and blah 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 blah. So why did I decide to live outside of London rather than inside of it? So there's 2 points that I'll probably say at some point. The first of which I don't usually bring up, is just, oh, yeah, price. If you want to live in London, here is the average property price. £593,899. That's a lot of money. Convert that to your local currency right now and be like, oh, yeah, quite a bit. Can't afford that. And by the way, that goes up and down depending on your area too. But still, lots of money to actually decide to live there. But the second reason is because you can actually live closer to London while not living in London than you can while living inside of it. Which sounds backwards. How can you be close to a place while not being closer to a place? But that's what I'll be explaining with today's video, because if I heard someone else make the claim, I'd want them to back it up. And this is my backup video to anyone out there that's like, I don't believe this thing. I'm going to redirect them here. And if you want to just join along for the ride, then here's that. If you don't, then I'll do some joke video of Toycat next Saturday, don't you worry. But in the meantime, let's get really overly specific about London. So let's start by just explaining what London is. I've done this before, but London is three places technically. It's the City of London, which is this tiny square mile city. It's roughly over here. You can see City of London. It's a really interesting place. You should look it up. They've got a weird Lord Mayor that wears a fancy suit but doesn't get paid. It's a really, really weird thing. You should look it up sometime. But yeah, there's the City of London, which no one really defines as London. Then there's the kind of centre of London, which most people would consider to be London, and it's this kind of area right here. This is where most of the people who, go into London work, because it's where most of the really crazy stuff is happening. If you want to go and do something, I don't know, any of the tourist stuff or any of the just fun stuff, it's probably in this central London zone. This is where the city life of London takes place, and this is where a vast majority of, the 13 million people in the area do their working. So yeah, this is where most people want to get to, whether it is for recreation, whether it is for working, which is something I might be doing, whether it is just because, stuff is there. Again, the reasons I want to get there, but also the reasons other people would like to be there. So most people that that want to live in London, they decide, well, we can't live here, because if you want to live in central London, like I said, 593,000, and I think that includes all of Greater London too. So it's actually a lot higher, because if you pick a random London borough, so you're like, oh, I'd like to live in I don't know, Mayfair. That's a terrible example because it's the most expensive one. Oh, 2.9 million. Well, let's downgrade that to Chelsea. And again, really expensive ones, but to prove a point, even if you want to go to oh, oops, I don't want to do that. But even if you go to stuff let's just go somewhere that should be a lot cheaper. So I think Vauxhall would be cheaper. I don't know these prices. I'm looking it up as we go along. 690,000 in a place that's generally known as not being too great just because it's in the centre. That's the point I'm trying to get at. If you want to live somewhere that's actually in central London, you pay 700, a lot of money basically. So if you don't want to pay that lots of money, then what you do instead is you have to move out, because most people cannot just drop that much. And you'll imagine the rent on that would be several thousand a month, if not close to 1,000 a week, something like that. So what you do instead of living in central London, because you cannot, because otherwise you will starve, is you move out somewhere out, and you're like, okay, I'll just move a little bit outside of London. And the general way you mark this is with zones. They're on the zone map. It's a rough way of doing it, or you can just say, oh yeah, it's the distance to the centre. So for instance, if you live all the way out in Hayes, you're barely even living in London, but it is still in the Greater London area, because again, that area is roughly marked by this big circle. So this circle here, the M25, roughly, it's not entirely accurate, but it's mostly accurate. So this is our guide for today. Anything in there is going to be part of London. Everything outside of there is not London. So the point I'm trying to make when I say that some parts of London are further away from London than parts of the country that aren't London is because if you pick some certain random places, because if you look around, there's Barnet, there's Albridge, Chigwell. Has anyone heard of Chigwell? I've never heard of Chigwell. I've never heard of most of these places, honestly. But yeah, they're tiny suburbs outside of London that aren't really London but are in the greater area. And if you pick out, most of these random places, they've got a decent amount of commute time to the centre. Because bear in mind that if you are a commuter with a job, you're not driving because no one drives in London. You're probably taking the train. And if you're me, because I don't drive, you're taking the train regardless. So we're doing this entirely by public transport, whether that is train or bus or whatever. And we'll do the times from, again, let's pick some random places. So let's go of Erith. That's one of the cheapest places to live in London, as I understand it, looking at a thing. Let's go from Erith to the centre of London. So I think I did this wrong, but as you can see, London to Erith, and we'll just go by public transport at depart by, what time, midday. That's probably when I'd be going to London, right? It's just after commuter time, so you get an off-peak fare. As you can see, okay, wait, reverse it. So it's going to take 38... Okay, so on this map here, you can see it's going to take 38 minutes to get from there to the centre of London. And this is despite the fact that it's actually pretty close. I mean, actually, it's not. It's at the edge. But as you can see, it's 38 minutes even from there. But if you go somewhere reasonably close, like if you take... a brother recently lived on the Isle of Dogs, so you go like this, and you're like, Isle of Dogs to the centre. 27 minutes, which is still a decent amount of time. That's like half an hour to get from relatively close London to the centre, or if you're somewhere in the distance, it can take 35 minutes, 40 minutes. Sometimes it can take close to an hour. Like, let's pick some random examples, because some of them are going to be like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but the vast majority of places in London aren't actually close. So I don't know, like... Crowken, I'm trying to pick like really vague places that probably aren't connected. This is going to take, 30 minutes from Sidcup. Sidcup's a nice name for a place. Maybe it's worth living there anyway. But you kind of get the point I'm going at here. Again, pick another one, like New Malden. That's probably going to be actually fast because it looks like it's on the line. This is going to take 25 minutes. That's a good example. That's a fast one. But still, 25 minutes from this part of London to the centre, and they're all going to various stations. So bear in mind, it just gets you into the centre. From there, you have to do something anyway. But now let's compare that to places outside of it. So, also wait, let's just go for a few more for the north, because I've done all south there over here, which is technically not a fair example. So I've lost myself on this map. Let's pick one like Barnet, for instance. That's a place everyone's heard of, probably. I know it's where the BBC do some filming. 42 minutes from there to the centre of London. If you want to do stuff like, Stanmore. I've heard of Stanmore from something. Then it's going to take you 40 minutes. It's on the Jubilee line. But yeah, all of these places take a really long time to get to the centre because, even though you might think it's just one tube train array because it's an underground train, it actually takes a while to go all the way from there. Anyway, the point I'm trying to raise is it takes a decent amount of time to get from the edges of London to the centre. But if you live in a place outside of London that's really well connected, so let's pick some examples here. The closest one would probably be like... Okay, let's just pick one of these ones outside. Grays, for instance. So Grays, I think, is probably well connected to London. I could be getting that wrong. Grays to London is 35 minutes. So it's the same time as somewhere in London. But then we pick somewhere like Luton, which is just north up here. So as you can see, this is Luton over here. It's got a bad reputation for a bunch of reasons, but just by purely, purely going by the thing, 23 minutes to the centre of London, despite being literally double the distance from the centre of most of these other places. Even if we take somewhere really far out, so we take somewhere like Cambridge, for instance. We take somewhere like Cambridge, which is well known. It's trying to do Cambridge from America. bad Google Maps. Always UK Cambridge. Always UK Cambridge. But yeah, even Cambridge, it's going to be 48 minutes, which is actually, it's slightly longer, but that's despite being 4 times further out and being able to benefit from not spending that crazy London price. And that's the point I wanted to kind of raise here. Wait, let's just do a few more on each side. So like on the side there, Chelmsford. Do you see that little place over there? Let's do Chelmsford. If you wanted to... It's doing Chelmsford. Why do you name all your places after our ones, America? Do you know that's annoying when you try and type things into Google Maps? Okay, there you go. 36 minutes, or 34 minutes, as it turns out. Same distance as people who actually live in London. Same thing if we go of, like, somewhere in the southeast. It goes all the way around. If you're in a well-connected place that isn't in the centre, so, Ashford, for instance, that's a nice far one out that I think is connected by, like, Eurostar. So Ashford's all the way over here, bear in mind. Pretty much at the edge of the coast, like closer to France than it is to the centre of London, bear in mind. And you can get there in 29 minutes by Eurostar, which isn't really fair. It's 38 minutes. But still, that's the point I wanted to raise here. You can live the same distance from the centre, if not closer, while being outside of London than you can while being in it. So, also, just to prove a few points here. So this is that compared to like this. Like I said, it's not a very well-known place, but 224,000 versus... what was one of those? I forgot the names of the places. Barnet. Barnet was a place versus Barnet. Same distance. No, actually, Luton was double as fast, but yeah, it costs 1/3 the price. And because of the perception of time and the fact that people don't care about times, they care about connections, they care about the perceived distance, then that's that. So I will clarify at the end here. I've made an amazing point about why living in London is silly, but the technical, the 2 points you can make here is that while you live outside of it, you're less connected in general, so your area is less connected. So, for instance, if you were to live in, Luton, you probably aren't going to live at the train station, although it's cheaper to live there because it's not connected so well. But even if you do, then you're not living in London, you're living outside of it, which you might want to live in something that's kind of London too. And the second point I wanted to raise is that technically, I was doing all of this from the centre. If you work somewhere that's like in Zone 2 or Zone 3, that's somewhere, kind of central but not entirely, then it will usually be faster if you're in London. But if you're just going to the centre because you want to work in like Somerset House or the Royal Opera House or the Knights Templar, a high ceilinged pub and a former bank. That sounds nice. I don't know why it's recommending these random places out of everything, or the Museum of London, you get the point I'm making here, then it's actually faster to not live there. Anyway, this was just a random thing I wanted to get out of the way, because again, I would want someone to prove it if they made this claim, so I'm here 11:16 p.m. proving the point myself. Probably wasn't worth it. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Wait, yeah, I'll do a geography of Toycat this Saturday. I'm thinking of doing it on, there's 2 subjects, maybe you can decide, or maybe it's already decided. Either like 5 countries that will stop existing soon, or why South Korea looks so messy on a map. Because, you know, everyone's playing Pokemon Go in like one town in South Korea. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, one of those things. I'll see you there. Bye.